Hi guys, and welcome back to my YouTube channel. For those of you who don't know me yet, my name is Ursa, and today I'm gonna present you how traveling through Europe is in the pandemic time, and this is part 2. We moved to Norway in January 2021, but I still had to return to Austria to finish my work assignments for about a month. Last time I talked to you about how traveling through Europe was in pandemic time in January, and today I'm gonna give you a quick update and show you the differences between January and a month later. So I traveled from Vienna to Oslo on Wednesday, 17th of February 2021. At this point, Austria has a light lockdown, meaning that shops, museums, libraries and zoos are open. Also, locals are able to go skiing and kids are back to school. You can also go to a hairdresser if you have a negative COVID test. If you look at the number of the positive tests, this actually is higher than it was in January, but the 7 days incidence rate is actually also lower. On the other hand, Norway in the meantime, or to be precise, on January 20th, implemented new, much more stricter rules, which mean that you are not able to travel to Norway at all. The exceptions to this rule are residents of Norway and close family members of people who live in Norway. And if you are able to travel to Norway, you still need to complete the registration form, have a negative test that is not older than 24 hours, take another test when you enter Norway, and quarantine for 10 days. So the rules are very strict, and I'm actually very happy that I registered my residency already back in January. So for me, again, traveling started already before the actual travel, as I had to take a test, a PCR test, to prove that I don't have a COVID at the moment. And the tests are actually what, in my opinion, is the biggest difference to traveling through Europe 1 month earlier. As for I was traveling with KLM, and they, for example, in January needed a test that was no older than 48 hours. This time they want a test that is no older than 72 hours before the departure, but in addition there is a rapid test that you need to have, and this must not be older than 4 hours before the departure. But as I said before, entering Norway requires a negative COVID test that is not older than 24 hours. So for me, I decided that I was traveling on Wednesday, and I decided I'm gonna take PCR test on Tuesday, which was then valid for both flying with KLM and also entering Norway. And this rule, having the test that is not older than 24 hours, makes actually your traveling a bit more stressful, because it's actually not really easy to organize this test. Most laboratories guarantee your test result in 48 hours, but having your result on the same day actually requires you to take your test really on time. Another thing that made my day a bit more complicated was the rapid test I needed to take no more than 4 hours before the departure. And since I was flying out at 7 o'clock in the morning, this meant that the earliest point was 3 a.m. And luckily there is a testing facility straight at the airport, but on the homepage it only says that they open at 7 a.m. But it only takes a phone call to find out on these days they open already at 4:30 in the morning for the people who are flying out this early. So I took this test in the morning, and 15 minutes after the test, I got the result already on my phone. So again, very effective. And I was only able to do the baggage drop after I was able to show both a negative PCR and a negative rapid test. From this point on, traveling was just as usual, also pre-corona time, or like a month ago. When I landed in Amsterdam this time, I didn't walk around as much, since my gates were quite close to another, but I noticed that the security or the measures are also still in place. People are wearing masks everywhere. There are spots on the floor reminding you about keeping distance and so on and so on. But there is a difference actually to traveling in January, and this is no chairs at the charging stations. So if you want to charge your phone or your laptop or anything else, you actually have to put it down on the table and stand there, or sit down somewhere else close by, but you are not able to sit at the table, which was possible a month ago. But I guess they just try to make people keep their distance and keep them away from each other. And the last point, arriving to Norway, was actually, in my opinion, the strictest part comparing January and February travel to each other. The border control was quite simple and straightforward, but they did check if I was a resident in Norway. Testing is actually what, in my opinion, needs some upgrade, but I guess this is the case in almost every country. There are only few people who are actually able to give you the information that you ask for, and nobody checked the 24-hour-old PCR test that I had with me, so I didn't really see the point in stressing about this before if I didn't really need it after landing in Norway. After arrival, everybody needs to quarantine for 10 days, and there is no exception to this. So the flow of information is what I think is upgradable in quite many countries, but it's also due to rules changing all the time. So what I would recommend to you is basically just checking out what the situation is, what the health and quarantine recommendations are in as well the country that you're living, but also in the country that you're flying to. So this would be an update on my traveling experience in February in the pandemic time. If you want to let me know how your travel went or have any questions, please leave this in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe to my channel. This would be all for today. Thank you for watching. Ha det!